lot of people wanted to watch it.
Oh.
The Swaziwazi debate, or something like that. So, fine. Oh.
Okay, that person is on my list.
Who? We were purposely not wanting to be heard, apparently.
So I have to call people to order? I thought Adam was.
Do you want us to call?
Good evening. Good evening. It's great to see everyone today. My name is Adam Kuranishi. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources here at the Syosset School District. Thank you all for joining us today. Myself, along with my colleague Philly Heffron, who's our Public Information Officer, we support the work of the task force as staff members. But what I'd like to do now is just announce those task force members who are in the room today. Start out by introducing Rabbi Jamie Shalhevet and Pastor Rebecca Sheridan as our co-chairs. And then our three student representatives. So we have Hafsa Merkan, Chase Pendrick, and Zehran Muqtadir. We also have Imam Tanwir Ahmed, who's not here today, but we also have Jacqueline Braunstein. In the back, Ty Calvert Foster. We have in the front Rabbi Jason Fruithandler. We have Mikey Goodman, Asma Malik, Tina Ng. Tina's over here. Sharman Pajvani. Ina Choi. Arunish Salhotra. David Steinberg. And Kelly Zhang. We also have members of our Board of Education who are in the room, as well as Dr. Rogers and members of our administrative team. Thank you for joining us. The work of this task force is very much aligned with, and the goal of it is very much aligned with the committed effort by the district and our members of our community, PTA, our committed administration, faculty, and staff, as well as our students who contribute to this work, in creating a school district where students, families, staff can feel safe and where they can also feel a sense of belonging. And that's been the goal of our district and will continue to be the goal. And there's always room for growth and improvement and progress. And that's really why we're here today. Just a couple notes on some of the work. And if you've checked out some of the summary of our meetings, we've had we split our task force into 5 working groups. And those working groups were designed along the charge of the task force. So we have one working group as best practices in existing initiatives. We have the student experience that we're exploring, family partnerships, the code of conduct and data reporting, and data collection. So today we'll hear from members of our audience today who will share out ideas to our task force, constructive ideas to the task force. Those of you who are on our live stream, if you have an idea that you'd love to share, please send it to our email address, antibias@syossetschools.org. So I'm going to hand it over to our co-chairs who will call up.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so the purpose of tonight is really for us as a task force to listen to the ideas of the community. And so you'll see that Rabbi Jamie and I are not trying to take notes because we're trying to actively listen. Some of our task force members are taking notes because somebody needs to take notes so that we remember and can collect the ideas that are shared. So as I invite people forward to speak, we have an order, and I'll just remind you of the guidelines for our conversation. Each community member will have 2 minutes to present their ideas, so we do have a time limit of 2 minutes. Participants may not engage in crosstalk, and all comments should be directed to us. Speakers should refrain from sharing personal stories. Reports of bias in the school should be communicated to the appropriate school administrator as per the district's code of conduct. And again, if you haven't heard, we've said it a few times, the forum here is used for idea sharing, specifically related to the school district. All other matters related to the school district should be directed to the administration or the Board of Education. Okay, so the first person on my list is Brian Tved. I hope I said that right. Brian? And I think, is this the microphone? Yeah.
Testing the microphone. Is that on?
It is not.
Okay.
Have a keen grasp of the obvious. It is now.
Okay. Is that? Okay.
Yes.
That works.
Okay.
All right. I would like to remind the task force of an important legal and constitutional requirement the district must uphold, which is the principle of viewpoint neutrality. The Student Code of Conduct states that all district students have the right to, quote, express one's opinion either verbally or in writing, as long as it is done in a respectful manner and does not consist of speech that is hateful, intolerant, or otherwise violates the code, unquote. I am concerned that some of the proposals that have been made in previous board meetings would impinge on the right of students to freely express their opinions, specifically regarding the country of Israel. Some community members have proposed adopting what is known as the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance Working Definition of Anti-Semitism, or the IRA definition for short. The task force should be aware that the American Civil Liberties Union and other organizations have raised strong objections to the IRA definition, since it has been used to delegitimize criticism of Israel and suppress voices in support of Palestinian rights. I am also concerned about the district's association with the Anti-Defamation League, which has a history of opposing legitimate criticism of Israel and Zionism. For example, the ADL says that it is offensive to characterize Israel as an apartheid state, despite the fact that multiple human rights organizations have come to the conclusion that it is. No one would say that criticism of the People's Republic of China is anti-Asian racism, or that even very harsh criticism of the Islamic Republic of Iran or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is Islamophobia. Likewise, criticism of Israel, even very strong criticism of Israel's human rights record, is not anti-Semitism. Finally, I will note that it is mentioned in the list of anti-bias resources that the district sent out in November that genocide is part of the social studies curriculum starting in the 10th grade. The International Court of Justice has recently ruled that it is, quote, plausible, unquote, that Israel's actions since October 7th meet the definition of genocide. It is vital that students be able to express opinions and share viewpoints about this important ongoing ICJ case. And with that, I would like to thank the task force for taking on this important work.
Thank you.
All right. I'd ask for this forum that we refrain from applause. And so I would like to invite Ibrahim Khwaja to come forward.
Good evening. I would, after that, wow, I don't know how I'm going to follow that up, but I think what I'm here to discuss tonight is relevant, and I've brought it up a couple of times so far at the board meetings. It's imperative now more than ever to review the inherent biases and feelings we have towards fellow community members and especially students. As I mentioned at a couple of other meetings, we need to review the hiring practices here at Syosset. From what I experienced and what I know about Syosset, we don't have the proportionate diversity in faculty and staff that reflects the diversity within the Syosset community. The Board of Education should first understand the depth of diversity, or lack thereof, amongst the staff and faculty before asking for changes to be made. I'm not sure what kinds of practices we look at and we implement when hiring faculty and staff. However, I think diversity, if it has not been taken into consideration in the past, should be a factor moving forward. One of the things that I can empathize with students about is the feelings they may have when a teacher or a nurse or an assistant principal or a principal or anybody else mentions Israel, has an Israeli flag on their desk. If that person feels like that particular country has done wrong to them, to their family, to their community, and yet cannot express themselves for fear of a failing grade or even a C or something that would harm their prospects, whether it's going to college or anything else, they have no outlet. They have no way of going to, somebody and saying something because they think that person might report them back to the teacher and the teacher might harm them. In Syosset, and it's not just, okay, all right, if you don't mind, can I just finish up? Whether it's Syosset or anywhere else, unfortunately, grades are not objective, or at least not 100% objective. There is some subjectivity to it. So I would really implore Dr. Rogers and all the other administration here to consider a reporting system where students can anonymously report staff without fearing some kind of retribution. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I know 2 minutes is very quick. So thank you for respecting the time limit. And so now I'll invite forward Hassan Sheikh.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I wasn't hoping to be called this early. I was still trying to put together my thoughts. But first of all, thank you all for dedicating your time. It's a very important responsibility that you have, trying to eliminate bias and make, make this school district a better place for our kids. So one thing I would like to say is it would be great if we can codify a definition of Islamophobia, because there are things that are happening, but since there's no definition that exists, it would be important that we come up with a definition so that people can be held responsible. The second thing I want to say is that there have been several unfortunate incidents of swastikas being drawn, and I think more than 5, and police has been called. One thing I just want to remind us all, that these are 10 to 13 or 14-year-old kids we're talking about. And that's just something we need to look at how best to handle it. There are emotional consequences of kids having to meet with the police and go through this. There has to be, hopefully, a better process or way to handle this. So again, I leave that to the task force to hopefully come up with a better way.
30 seconds.
Okay, and I'll just finish it up that, we would appreciate if there's some diversity in the curriculum. There are obviously 2 sides to a story. So, there needs to be different perspectives that need to be shared when we are teaching kids so they understand the perspective from both sides. Thank you.
Okay, we had other people signed up to speak, but I'm looking at Billy, we don't have anyone else who showed up, so at this time I would open it up to others who might feel moved to offer an idea at this time. Okay, sure. Felisa, come on up. That's okay. We're here to listen.
Sure. I think there needs to be a way to counteract TikTok, social media, as a source of information for a lot of these students. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Sorry, my heart's beating. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I got very upset, you know, like hearing like your charges of genocide, which are not true. There is no genocide.
Felissa.
Okay.
Felissa.
Sorry. But when that gets promoted in social media, it's hard when to fight that. So there has to be some way we could like fight the misinformation in social media.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Thanks, Felissa.
All right. Anybody else who would like to speak? All right. Okay, and your name is Stephanie. Okay.
I also wasn't planning on speaking, but I will say that I don't know exactly what curriculum was already installed in this school district before this year and before all these talks, but my daughter could not stop talking about the Holocaust survivor that was brought in, detail of every age of her life, her weight, her parents, her sibling, like, so I think, I don't know, you know, maybe Dr. Rogers can tell me whether this was already installed or these are new things, but the book Linked that they had to read, these are really important things, and they're really touching to Jews and non-Jews, so I commend the district for making it really relatable and, you know, really hitting home with the kids so they can come and talk to us and ask us more questions.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you. Sure. All right. Ira.
Gitz Rubin, Ira Rubin.
Okay.
And I didn't expect to speak. So I just want you to know, my kids all went through the school system. They're way older, obviously, with all this gray. So, but I just want to say something, that what's happening here in the schools affects every one of us who lives in Syosset. Never in my life have I ever thought that I would be afraid to have a sign in front of my house supporting somebody. You know, this is not a political thing, who's a hostage. And every night I have to go out and take it down because we're afraid that something will happen. I belong to a men's group at my synagogue. It's called Hearing Men's Voices. We've had about 10 different sessions talking what is happening in the community. So while I'm really just saying that this is, the school's a microcosm of really what's happening in the community. And a lot of people are afraid of what's happening because you don't know what's happening in your neighbor's home. And I heard what other people said. Everyone can have their own opinion. I've lived here since 1978. I'm not planning on leaving now. But I want to live at a pleasant home where I can walk outside and not look over my shoulder. And I just think you have to realize what you're doing in the schools reflects on every one of us. And that we should try to come up with something where people can feel the way I have felt for 40 of the years that I've lived here. But the last 2 years, I certainly haven't felt that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, well, we would like to thank you all for participating, for taking the time to come out. We purposefully set this up in a way that you would get to know some people at your table a little bit as a reminder that we're all community together and we're working together to do better. And we are taking all these suggestions very seriously, as well as if you think of something, the email, which I wish I would remember, is there. You remember. That's why we need co-chairs.
Anti-bias@syosset.org.
Yes.
Syosset Schools, sorry.
I have it right here.
Anti-bias@syossetschools.org.
Okay, and also
If you're wrong, you'll be corrected. Don't worry.
our very dedicated school staff have been great about updating the website with our minutes of the task force, a general what are we working on and what are we moving forward toward. So with that, thank you and good night.
Yeah, can I just wrap up? Sure. We are moving forward with, we're looking for suggestions, but we have our subgroups that are looking at best practices that have happened, our own data, so that we are not walking into this emotionally charged only. We are emotionally charged. I think that's clear from everything that's been going on, including, I think, faces tonight. And so we understand that, but we cannot only work emotionally charged because that will get us nowhere except yelling at each other. And so we're looking at fact-driven data, things that other school districts have done that are successful, things that we can invent and create through our community that are successful in changing the status quo as it stands right now. Because right now, nobody's happy. We're talking in school. Our function is in school.
Yeah. So there's actually a
However,
resolution.
parents are included in school.
Yeah. There's a resolution posted on the website if you get a chance to look that the Board of Education charged our task force to do. And so that includes actually 12 recommendations that we've been working on. And as Adam mentioned, we have our 5 subcommittees that are working on those specific charges, all around the work of doing better to combat bias in all forms in the school district. All right. Okay.
We should have
So,
had food.
yes.
Where are those cookies?
So at this time, our forum is concluded, and we thank you again for your participation.